Before we begin, I want to welcome you to our channel. For those who are new here, our mission is to share genuine Christian testimonies from around the world, spreading the powerful message of God's kingdom. We focus on stories about Jesus, the afterlife, heaven and hell, and other Bible-related topics, bringing them to you in engaging story form twice or 3 times a week. We invite you to become a member of this family by subscribing to our channel. God bless you as you do so. Today's experience was sent to us by a brother serving in the U.S. Army. He was shown what becomes of those who divorce use. Stay to the end to fully understand his experience. I will begin reading as sent to us. My name is Caleb. For over 20 years, I served in the United States Army, dedicating my life to the service of my country. My career was marked by discipline, loyalty, and a deep commitment to the values I believed in. It wasn't just a job for me. It was a calling, a duty that I embraced with everything I had. I was married to my wife for 13 years. We had a daughter together, and for a while, life seemed to be on track. My wife and I shared dreams, hopes, and the responsibility of raising our child. We had our challenges, of course, especially with my military career keeping me away more often than I would have liked, but we always found a way to make it work. There was love, respect, and a deep connection that I thought would never fade. But over time, something changed. It was subtle at first. Small disagreements over things that never used to matter, moments of silence where there had once been laughter. I found myself coming home to a house that felt less like a home and more like a battlefield. The tension between us grew, and with it, the arguments became more frequent and intense. I tried to maintain control to keep things from falling apart. I wanted to fix whatever had gone wrong, but the more I tried, the more I seemed to push her away. The fights became routine, and I found myself struggling to hold onto the respect and loyalty that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship. I knew something was slipping through my fingers, but no matter what I did, I couldn't seem to stop it. The more I fought to hold on to what we had, the more it seemed to crumble. As the months dragged on, I began to see the cracks in myself more clearly. I wasn't the man I used to be, and I knew it. The weight of my own shortcomings became impossible to ignore. I realized that in my struggle to maintain control, I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I had become more focused on being in charge than being a partner, more concerned with demanding respect than earning it. But no matter how much I tried to change, my wife refused to meet me halfway. The respect and loyalty that I believed should come naturally seemed further out of reach with each passing day. I could see it in her eyes, hear it in her voice. She was done. And deep down, I knew that the love we once shared was gone, replaced by resentment and a cold distance that neither of us could bridge. In the end, I made the hardest decision of my life. I told her to leave, and with that, our marriage was over. The divorce was swift and brutal, tearing apart what was left of our family. She took our daughter with her, and the silence they left behind was deafening. I was alone, left to grapple with the emptiness and the stark reality that I had lost everything that once meant the world to me. In July 2023, I was deployed on a special duty assignment, one that required the highest level of readiness and focus. After over 2 decades in the Army, I was no stranger to the demands of such missions. My years of service had taught me the importance of being both physically and mentally prepared, and I took that responsibility seriously. As we drove down the expressway that day, everything seemed routine. But then, out of nowhere, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. A sudden, intense attack that took my breath away. My hands trembled, and before I knew it, I was struggling to keep control of the steering wheel. Panic set in as the car began to swerve. My companion in the passenger seat quickly realized something was wrong and reached over, trying to steady the wheel. But we were moving fast, too fast, and the car seemed to have a mind of its own. The tires screeched as we veered across lanes, and in those frantic moments, everything spiraled out of control. Despite my companion's efforts, we couldn't avoid what was coming. The car flipped, rolling over multiple times before finally crashing down with a force that shook me to my core. The world around me went black, and all I could hear was the deafening sound of metal crushing against the pavement. Then, there was nothing. When I opened my eyes, everything was different. I found myself in a vast, empty void, an endless expanse of darkness that seemed to swallow up all light and hope. It took me a moment to realize that I was no longer alone. All around me, other souls drifted, each one as lost and disoriented as I was. We were all moving in the same direction, like shadows on a broad, foreboding path that stretched out ahead of us. There was something deeply unsettling about it, a sense of dread that grew stronger with every step. It felt as though we were being pulled forward by some unseen force, powerless to stop or turn back. The path led straight into a place that radiated darkness, a place where no good could possibly dwell. But like the others, I couldn't stop myself from walking toward it, despite the fear gnawing at my soul. Before me lay a vast, endless land filled with countless souls, each one writhing in unimaginable agony. The air was thick with the sounds of torment, cries, wails, and the gnashing of teeth that seemed to echo from every corner. It was a sight so horrific that I could hardly believe what I was seeing, but there was no denying the reality of it. Everywhere I looked, I saw demons, each one relentlessly tormenting the souls around them. These demons were methodical and unyielding, carrying out their dark work with a cruel precision that left no soul untouched. The torment was constant, never ceasing, and each soul was bound to their suffering by chains that seemed to tighten with every passing moment. As I moved deeper into this place of despair, I began to realize that this particular expanse of torment was reserved for those who had divorced their spouses for reasons that weren't in line with biblical teachings. The demons seemed to take a perverse pleasure in mocking these souls, reminding them of their failure to uphold the sanctity of marriage. They were punished in ways that were both horrific and personal, each torment designed to reflect the sins they had committed in life. The anguish was overwhelming, and the realization of why they were there only added to their suffering. As I stood there, surrounded by the endless sea of tormented souls, a hush fell over the land. It was then that a demon, more imposing and sinister than the others, appeared on a throne that seemed to materialize from the darkness. This demon was the embodiment of malice, and as it took its place, the demon began to speak. It mocked the souls mercilessly, taunting them for their failure to uphold God's standard of marriage. I could remember him saying, "You chose to abandon the vows you made before God. You neglected the sanctity of your marriage, and now, for all eternity, you will suffer for it." The demon's declarations were met with the anguished cries of the souls, but there was no mercy in its eyes, only a deep, sadistic pleasure. For every moment you spent in selfishness, for every time you turned your back on the one you vowed to love and cherish, you will be tormented without end. This is your fate, and there will be no escape. With each word, the torment intensified. The chains that bound the souls grew tighter, and the demons redoubled their efforts, inflicting pain with a renewed vigor. It was as if the very air had become charged with, amplifying the suffering to an unbearable level. The souls screamed and writhed in agony, their torment increasing with every passing second, as the demon on the throne watched, reveling in their despair. As I stood amidst the suffering, the reality of my own predicament became horrifyingly clear. I was seized by demons who bound me with chains, the cold metal biting into my flesh. They shackled my hands and feet, and I felt the chains tighten with a cruel, unrelenting pressure. Each movement was excruciating, and the more I struggled, the tighter they became, drawing me closer to a pain that seemed to have no end. The torment was relentless. The demons seemed to take a perverse pleasure in adjusting the chains, pulling them in ways that forced my body into unnatural, painful positions. Each adjustment was accompanied by a new wave of agony that left me gasping for breath. The pain was unlike anything I had ever experienced, a constant, searing torment that penetrated every part of my being. In this compartment reserved for those who had divorced for non-biblical reasons, the suffering was amplified by the sheer number of souls enduring similar fates. As I endured the relentless torment, I couldn't help but notice the souls around me. One woman, her voice choked with tears, cried out to the heavens, "Please, God, forgive me," she pleaded, her eyes wide with terror. She confessed she was wrong to disobey her husband and to insult him so many times. She said was disrespectful and unfaithful, thinking that her own desires were more important than their vows. She fell to her knees, her chains rattling with the force of her sorrow. She confessed that she realized now that she should have been a supportive and loving wife. She should have respected him and worked through their problems together, instead of letting her pride drive them apart. She pleaded for another chance to make things right. Nearby, another woman's voice rose loud in a bitter regret that seemed to cut through the darkness. She confessed, if only she had known that filing for divorce would lead her here. She pursued wealth and material gain, thinking it would bring her happiness. But all it did was drive her away from her husband. Her hands were bound tightly, and her body shook with the force of her tears. She promised herself she would never do it again, but now it's too late. She wished she had valued her marriage more, that she had seen the true cost of her decisions. She would give anything to turn back time and stay with her husband, to honor the commitment she made. I saw a man, his face covered with deep lines of regret. He confessed how he beat his wife. He was harsh and unkind, thinking that controlling her was the only way to maintain their relationship. He thought that if he asserted his authority, things would get better, but all he did was push her away. His chains seemed to tighten in response to his confessions, as though his very admission of guilt was adding to his suffering. He confessed how he never meant for things to end this way. He revealed how he should have been a better husband, one who showed love and understanding, not anger and violence. As the torment continued, my own sense of guilt and regret grew unbearable. In the midst of the suffering, I began to confess my own sins, the reasons for my divorce, and the failings that had led me to this harrowing place. As I confessed these failures, the demons surrounding me seemed to take particular interest in my words. One of them, with a voice dripping with scorn, responded, "So you think that your actions were justified because you were trying to assert control? You believe that by being harsh and inflicting pain, you would somehow fulfill your role as a husband." While they were tormenting me, in the midst of my torment, something unexpected occurred. A flash of light, radiant and pure, cut through the oppressive darkness. It was a brief but blinding brilliance that seemed to pierce hell. The light had the unmistakable aura of divinity, and though it lasted only an instant, it was enough to momentarily dispel the darkness surrounding me. As I tried to comprehend the significance of this sudden illumination, the light appeared again, this time with a more impact. The third appearance of the light was particularly striking. It came with a clarity and intensity that seemed to almost communicate a divine presence. The light resembled the images of Jesus I had seen in my life, gentle, powerful, and filled with compassion. Suddenly, I was jolted awake. The intense darkness that had surrounded me was replaced by blinding light and the steady beeping of medical equipment. I found myself lying on a stretcher inside an ambulance. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, I could feel the rough motions of the vehicle and the cold, clinical touch of the medical staff. They continued their work, focusing on ensuring that I was stabilized and prepared for emergency treatment. As I reflect on my harrowing experience and the lessons learned, I feel compelled to share a crucial message with all Christians. The torment I endured serves as a warning about the importance of faithfulness and commitment in marriage. To all husbands and wives, I urge you to remain steadfast in your commitment to each other. Love one another deeply and unconditionally, as Christ loves the church. In times of difficulty and misunderstanding, seek resolution through compassion and mutual respect. Remember, marriage is a sacred covenant, and it is meant to be honored with all sincerity and devotion. For husbands, lead with love and understanding. Be supportive and gentle, showing respect and kindness to your wives. For wives, embrace your role with grace and submission, recognizing the partnership that God has ordained. Together, work through challenges with patience and prayer, always seeking to strengthen the bond that unites you. Divorce, as I witnessed in the depths of hell, has severe and eternal consequences. The suffering I saw was a direct result of neglecting God's standards for marriage. The torment faced by those who failed to uphold their vows was unimaginable. It serves as a solemn reminder of the gravity of breaking such a sacred commitment. I urge you to examine your own relationships and strive to embody the love, patience, and forgiveness that Christ exemplifies. Let us all commit to building and maintaining marriages that honor God's design, reflecting His love and grace in every aspect of our lives. May we each find the strength to overcome challenges, the wisdom to resolve conflicts, and the grace to forgive, ensuring that our marriages remain a testament to the enduring power of Christ's love. Let this experience be a call to all believers to cherish and uphold the sanctity of marriage. The consequences of failing to do so are far-reaching and devastating. May you be encouraged to love one another fully, forgive deeply, and remain committed through every trial, ensuring that your marriage reflects the love and faithfulness that God desires. All right, friends, this brings us to end of today's experience. Kindly like and share this video with your friends and families. Kindly subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell icon to be the first to get updated anytime we upload a new experience sent to us. Remain blessed.